Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to get started just in the interest of everyone's time. I am recording this session, and we'll share this with Ann and Jenny, and they can distribute this to the group for anyone who may want to re-listen to the presentation, as well as folks who weren't able to be on the call. So thank you for having me. My name is Rich LeBranti, and I am the investment advisor on the CCI 401k plan. I've been working with the firm for a number of years and always happy to give these presentations and chats to try to add some value to what you're doing in your planning, and also make this a discussion for anyone who might have any specific questions about the 401k or just any planning in general. What I'll ask is that if you could use the chat feature throughout the presentation, I will be keeping track of questions, and I will have a Q&A at the end of the session. So if there's something that's very specific to your personal situation, I would ask that you just maybe contact me offline, and I will share my contact information with you at the end of the call. But if there's a general question or a question that you think might be valuable for other participants on the call, please feel free to use the chat function, and I will be sure to make sure that gets answered at the end. And if I can't answer it myself, I will collect the answer and follow up with you at the end of the call. So I will get started, and looking forward to having a chat with you guys. So the first thing I want to cover is just an overview of your 401k plan. And then we're going to talk about pre-tax and Roth contributions. Probably the biggest question that I get from 401k participants is, should they be doing pre-tax, Roth, a combination of both? So I'm going to cover that in detail today and hope to add some value there. And I'm going to chat about a couple of 401k mistakes to avoid and some things that you can do to maybe better meet your goals from a retirement planning perspective. So we'll start with the plan highlights. And the first thing we'll cover is eligibility. So all employees that are 18 years old with a month of service will immediately become eligible for the plan. And as most of you know, if you are participants, there's an auto enrollment feature in the plan where after that month of service, you will be automatically enrolled in the Empower 401k plan at a 3% pre-tax contribution. If you have the desire to opt out or increase or decrease or change to a Roth contribution, you can do that after your enrollment period by going to the Empower website, which I'll share on a slide a little bit later. So contribution limits for 2022 have actually increased. The Fed has upped the contributions about $1,000 for folks under age 50 to $20,500. And for those over age 50, you can do a maximum of $27,000 in total into the 401k plan for 2022. Those numbers should start getting the wheels turning a little bit, that the Fed is allowing us to save this much money, either pre-tax or on a Roth basis, because they know that many of us haven't had a chance to save or are falling a little bit short of our retirement planning goals. So they're really providing a great tool in the 401k to save a good amount of money every year. So if you were saving the max last year and you were basing that off of a percentage of your pay and or dollar amount on the Empower site, I'd recommend going in and updating those numbers so you can, if you do want to maximize the contributions, you'll be in a position to do so at the $20,500 or the $27,000 limit, depending on your age. Pre-tax and Roth contributions are allowed into the plan, or a combination of both, and I will detail the difference between those in a few slides. And rollovers from prior retirement plans or IRAs are also allowed into the CCI 401k. One thing to note there is if you did have a past employer or a past retirement account that you're trying to roll into the Cambridge Consultants plan, then you need to initiate that rollover from the past employer or the other record keeper of the plan. Unfortunately, myself or Empower or the HR department at CCI does not have the ability to get those assets for you, and they always have to be initiated from the past employer. A lot of times you can do that by logging right online to your past employer's record keeper 401k site, and they make it pretty easy to do that electronically. Any questions on that, again, you can reach me offline, and I'm happy to give you some details on how to best do that. There is a match in the 401k, which is a wonderful employee benefit. Not all companies offer 401ks, nor do all companies that do offer 401ks offer a match. So the CCI match is 50% of your deferrals, up to 6% of compensation. So if you want to be maxing out the match every year, you want to be putting at a minimum 6% of your compensation into the 401k as a contribution. There is a vesting schedule on the match, which vests over 3 years. About a third of the match contributions vest every year after 3 years of employment. Once you are employed at the end of that third year, then you are fully vested in the company profits. You are always 100% immediately vested in your contributions or any rollover contributions that you may make into the plan. There's also a loan option in the 401k where you can borrow up to 50% of your vested account balance to a maximum of $50,000. I don't particularly love the loan feature of a 401k unless you're going to be using that money to do something where you might be building some kind of equity, whether it's, buying your first home or maybe helping to educate your children. But if you decided to take a 401k loan to, go on a vacation or do something with the money that may not be building equity for you, I would probably recommend against that. Although loans are available, and if you had the desire to learn more about the loans, you can contact Empower directly, and I'll give you the information to do that on another slide. Really important point here, which I always recommend when I chat to plan participants, is to make sure that you name a beneficiary. Within the portal on the Empower site, you have the ability to name a beneficiary right online. It's important for a number of reasons. Number one, God forbid, if anything happens to you, you want to make sure that the money in the 401k, is going to the appropriate person. The other thing to pay really close attention to is if you have a life event that changes where your spouse maybe predeceases you, or you have a divorce, you want to make sure that you are updating that beneficiary designation. It's extremely important. These beneficiary designations on 401k plans, IRAs, life insurance, anything where you name a beneficiary, they all supersede anyone's will or trust planning. So if you had someone named in your will that was the benefactor of your estate, but you have a different person named as the beneficiary on your 401k plan, or any of your retirement plans for that matter, the person named as beneficiary will become the owner of those assets. So very important to name a beneficiary and make sure you stay up to date with the beneficiaries that you are naming. Next thing I'll talk about are investment options. There's a couple of different ways that you can invest in the Cambridge Consultants 401k plan. There are 23 individual investment options that range from very, very conservative investments to very, very aggressive investments and everywhere in between. Many people are taking advantage of the index funds within the plan, which is great because they're cost effective and they track an index, and those have been very popular in the past couple of years within the plan. So I'm happy to see people take advantage of those. And that's kind of like a do-it-yourself way to invest. If you are looking for the ability to kind of build your own portfolio and you have the desire to do so, you can use those individual investment options within the 401k plan. There's also the ability to use institutionally managed portfolios, which are the T. Rowe Price target date funds. And that's kind of more of a set it and forget it approach, or allowing someone else to do the investing for you. You can also create a combination of these funds where you might utilize some of the individual investment options along with the target date funds and have a combination of the two. If you have questions about your allocations, kind of how you should be investing, what kind of risk tolerance you have, are you in the appropriate allocation for your time and your goals, your time frame and your goals? I'd be happy to have a conversation with you offline to make sure that you're in the right place. CCI affords the ability for you as a participant of the plan to chat with us at our firm to give you professional advice about the 401k, and I'd be happy to chat offline with anybody who has the ability to do that and has some questions. So getting into the pre-tax versus Roth conversation, as I said, most of the questions that I get when participants contact me are really about how should I be saving into the 401k. And I just wanted to go over each of these in detail so folks know the difference between the two, and then talk about who might be a good candidate for a Roth 401k, as that's kind of newer than the pre-tax version, which came out when 401ks were created in the late 70s and early 80s. So pre-tax is what it says it is. The funds that you deduct into your 401k come out before taxes are taken out. So as an example, if you pre-tax $100 into your 401k plan, you're going to see about maybe $75 less in your paycheck per $100 because the money that you put is pre-tax. It's coming out before all of those other line items that you see on your paycheck. You don't pay any taxes on the contributions into the 401k in the pre-tax bucket while you are working or while the money's deferred in the plan. And when the money comes out, which it can do at age 59 and a half without a penalty, all of the contributions and the earnings are 100% taxable. So traditionally, if you're looking to reduce your taxable income today and have taxable income in retirement, thinking you would be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, then the pre-tax bucket could potentially work for you. The Roth works the opposite. With the Roth 401k, the contributions are deducted from your paycheck after taxes are taken out. So in that same light, if you put $100 in to the Roth as a Roth contribution, you will see $100 even removed from your paycheck. Although when the distributions come out of Roth 401k as well as Roth IRAs, both your contributions and any earnings come out 100% tax-free. So you're foregoing a tax break today to have tax-free income in retirement. And a lot of people ask questions about, the pre-tax and Roth 401ks, one of them being, can I make both pre-tax and Roth contributions? And the answer is yes. You can do all pre-tax, all Roth, or a combination of both. The one thing to remember is those federal government guidelines that I had mentioned of the 20,500 and 27,000 for those over age 50. You can only save up to that maximum total between the two types of allocations, both pre-tax and Roth. The next question we hear a lot, are there income limits for Roth 401ks like there are with Roth IRAs? And the good news there is no. For those of you who may save in a Roth IRA outside of the 401k plan, you may know that if you make over a certain amount of money every year, either as a single person or a married couple filing jointly, there are guidelines where you can or cannot put money directly into a Roth IRA. Those income guidelines do not apply to the 401k, which is great. And then another question we get quite often is, can I make contributions to a Roth IRA and a Roth 401k? And the answer to that is it depends. It depends again on your income. But if you are eligible from an income standpoint to make contributions to the Roth IRA, then yes, you can make contributions to both of them, which is great. And that question again, is a Roth 401k right for you? There's no cookie cut answer for this. But what we find is that there are some situations where if you're in one of those situations, you might be a better candidate for a Roth 401k than a pre-tax 401k. The first is someone who expects to be in a higher tax bracket when they retire. Traditionally, most people, while they're earning and working, are earning a set amount of money. And then when they retire, they tend to live on about 60 to 70% of that income in retirement. So if they retired making $100,000, they traditionally are shooting for about a $60,000 to $70,000, what we call replacement ratio on their earnings in retirement. If you plan to work after retirement or part-time or start a business, or you have income from trusts or investments or other things, then you may have more income in retirement than you did while you're working. And having a Roth 401k may make sense for you because taking withdrawals from the Roth 401k in retirement will not affect your tax bracket. Younger employees that have more time until retirement tend to benefit from that tax-free bucket of money. And I'll share a slide later in the presentation on the power of compounding and basically giving yourself the ability and that time to allow the investments to grow can really make a difference with the Roth assets. If you start in your 20s and 30s and let that money grow for 30 or 40 years, that compounding effect can really have a really great effect on the tax-free withdrawals and growing that bucket of wealth for yourself for your retirement years. Highly compensated employees who are not eligible for a Roth IRA. So we talked on the slide prior that there are income limitations for those unable to save directly into a Roth IRA. If you're in that position, then saving into the Roth 401k might make sense for you. And then employees who may want to leave tax-free money to their heirs and their beneficiaries. One of the nice things about a Roth IRA and Roth 401k is that they pass to the next generation very tax efficiently. Traditional IRAs and pre-tax 401ks do not pass to the next generation as tax efficiently. So if you have money that you're looking almost as like an excess bucket or money that you believe you may never spend in retirement, having that money in a Roth 401k, eventually a Roth IRA, is a very good transfer vehicle. So 401k mistakes to avoid. Some of the things, just kind of quick hits on ways that you can really maximize what you're doing in the 401k and making sure you're not leaving any value on the table. The first would be leaving free money behind. And what that means is, as we shared with the plan highlights, that CCI is going to match your 401k at 50% up to your 6% in contributions. So if you're only saving 2 or 3% into the 401k today, you're kind of leaving free money on the table. So I would recommend increasing the 401k contributions, not only to take advantage of the maximum of the match, but also staying static at 2 or 3% in contributions is really not going to be enough money to help you, reach your retirement goals. And that kind of leads to the next point of avoid keeping contributions static. As you know, you are entered into the 401k plan at a 3% contribution. That's great that you're entered in automatically, but keeping that contribution at 3% for a number of years, again, is going to inhibit you from being able to reach your retirement goals because you really need to be saving quite a bit more than that. Avoid taking out loans and premature withdrawals. We spoke about that, and kind of, if you are going to use a loan, try to make sure that you use that for something where you might be able to build some equity and add some value, and avoid doing it yourself. As I said, CCI affords the ability for us to chat with all, of their participants in the 401k plan, and we're happy to do so. So if you feel like you aren't well versed enough in picking out an allocation or just in general with financial planning topics, please feel free to utilize us as a resource. We would be happy to chat and see if we can help you kind of drill down on some of your goals and how you can best meet them. A couple of things that allow you to avoid some of those mistakes and really prove up why you kind of should be saving certain ways is, first is kind of the magic of compound interest. And what this slide shows is that really having time on your side and the ability to start saving as early and as often as you can is going to have a dramatic impact on the end result of saving. So what this slide shows is two individuals, one starting at age 35, saving $5,000 a year, and one starting at age 25, saving the same exact $5,000 a year, static for 25 years through their retirement at a 6% rate of return. After that 25-year time frame, the difference between the two values is almost double. So again, kind of making sure that you're saving enough and increasing your contributions over time, which the next slide kind of shows that power of 1%, really can make a big difference in your contributions. What this shows is John, in two scenarios at his age 40, starting at a 2% contribution and leaving that 2% contribution static through his retirement. The second, what we would call Smarter John, shows that same starting 2% contribution, but increasing the contribution every single year until the contribution reaches a 10% contribution max. And you can see again the difference after 25 years of savings, and this is a 4% rate of return. That power of 1% is, over $150,000 of additional assets in John's retirement plan. So starting early and increasing your savings are two very, very important things that you could be doing to help assist you to better meet your retirement goals. And we consistently remind participants of that because of how powerful these two pieces are. When it comes to kind of figuring out, how are you doing? Am I saving enough? Am I in the right allocations? Empower, being the record keeper that we use to host the 401k plan, has some great resources online. And you can see that participant.empower-retirement.com is where you go to log into your 401k portal. I would suggest using the mobile app if you have a smartphone or an Android and you have the ability to download the Empower app. It's a mirror image of what you would see online. And there's some really great tools that can help you model how much you're saving. If you tweak some of your contribution amounts, how that would result in, more savings for you in retirement. And there's just really some great resources there. The Securities and Exchange Commission also has a very good investor site with a list of planning tools that we often share with our personal clients as well as participants in 401ks. And that's the investor.gov site /free-financial-planning-tools. And there's also a retirement shortfall calculator that you can see. You can kind of enter in your age, what you have currently saved, what percent you're saving, inflation rates, projected rates of return, and how your retirement picture might look. So a couple of resources that you can use as a participant to see how you're reaching your goals, as well as, again, utilizing us, for any questions and just giving you the ability to spend some time and meet with us. So that is the end of the slides in the presentation. I'm going to look at the questions. The first, to clarify, to maximize the matching benefit, would one need to contribute 12% of income? No, to maximize the matching benefit, you would need to contribute 6% of your income, because that is the contribution limit that CCI has set in the plan for the match calculation. Next question is there a way to contribute over the maximum contribution limit? For instance, can we contribute post-tax dollars to a pre-tax 401k after we've hit the limit? That's a great question. Within the guidelines of the 401k plan today, there is no offering for a post-tax contribution. If there was enough interest in something like that, you could share that with the HR department, and we can look at potentially adding that as part of the plan offerings. But as it stands today, there are no after-tax options for contributions. It's your pre-tax and Roth contributions up to the limits of the federal guidelines, plus the match that CCI adds into the plan. But great questions. I don't see any other questions coming through in the chat. I appreciate everybody's time and attention today. I hope you found this valuable. My contact information is here, and you can always track me down through the HR department. And I am going to be sending this slide deck over to Jenny and Ann in HR, so they can have that on hand for folks if they want to share this as well. I really appreciate everyone joining. We look forward to doing this again in the near future. If you have any topics that you find that would be helpful to cover, please feel free to email me or Ann or Jenny, and we'd be happy to make sure we include some of those things in our next presentation. But for now, thank you all for your time, and I'll look forward to chatting with you individually. Take care.